Hi friends! I am making over these jars, so I thought I would take you along on one of them and I'll show you all three when they're done. They're going to be primitive style. These two came from Aldi's. They're spaghetti jars, but they're perfect for something like this. I painted the lids black. It doesn't really matter if you paint them because we'll be covering them. But I do want to be able to maintain the function of opening them so that I can put things in them. This is going to be quite messy. The first thing that we're going to work on is the lid. So you might want to put on some gloves. Otherwise, just get your hands in there and get messy. I have a mixture of fabric Mod Podge and coffee stain and any dark brown paint that you have, acrylic paint. I'm going to fold this up, and what I want to do is coat this in the Mod Podge. Get a good coat on there. We want this to be quite stiff when we're done, and I'll show you what I mean. And it's already giving it that really nice primitive look. Just get it edge to edge, just like that, and give your lid a good coat. Put your lid on top. And there's some Mod Podge that did not get completely disintegrated, and that's fine. And it's going to look something like this. We're going to pull that down as such. And we just want to make sure that the shortest edges cover the lid. And we want it to dry stiff. I'm going to give the top another good coat, as well as the sides. And then I'll find something to put this on so it can dry straight down. And it's going to look like this. I just put it on my sprinkle jar to dry straight down. Now here I've got some drop cloth that I'm going to be using. This will be the sleeve of the jar, if you will. And what I'm going to do is measure from the lip to a little bit to the bottom. So we're looking about right there, and I'll rip it like right here. I've got this piece ripped so that it will wrap nicely around the jar like this. And then I have enough down here to tuck under. But the first thing we want to do is build the front of the jar. And to do that, you can use any fabric that you want. I am going to use, I've got some muslin over here and some other different pieces. There's some beautiful tea stain muslin. And I'm looking at this. And I think I just need to rip it to get some tattering going on here. All right, I'm about like that. a little bit on the edges. And I've got that on there, and I like that. And then we want our underneath piece that's going to peek through. So maybe, how about something like this? And then we just need a square the same size. Like such. And it's okay if it's peeking, if it's smaller, because this piece is underneath. Of course, you could use any homespun type fabric or your favorite primitive fabric. And then just to give it a little depth, I'm going to use some of my coffee stained batting just to give it a little thickness. So this is what we're going to have. Now on this piece, I am going to make a cross. Okay, so I drew out a cross. And next, I need some small scissors. All right, I've got my snipping scissors. And I'm going to snip the cross out. I want a window, if you will. And then just cut that out. And this could be a star, it could be a heart. I've seen different ones on Pinterest, but I wanted a cross. And again, it could be any fabric as well. That's the fun of creating. You make it your own. And you could just flip it over. And then there is the window. And we are simply going to hand stitch around to attach it to our sleeve. I've got some embroidery thread here. This says cotton pearl, and I'll just stitch around. You could also use some different colors. Got some different colors here for my other ones. And then use a needle that has a large hole in the head. But you also want a thick needle. We're going to come in from the back, anywhere you want. Looks like my Mod Podge dried on here, but that's perfectly fine. We're just going to come in from the back and do a running stitch all the way around, or any type of stitch you want. And this is really thick, so if you need to get your pliers to do this, go ahead. I am going to go ahead and do a little bit of fabric fusion behind this. And then we'll put it back down. I will get this sewed up and I'll be right back. Here I've got my stitching done around the edge. Right here. Next I'm going to do some stitching around our window of the cross. I'm just using an embroidery thread in a turquoise blue type color. Any stitch you want. It can be like a whip stitch. And then I thought I would just go over and catch that, kind of like that. And then I'll come up through there. Come on the other side. And then this side. And really you want it to look haphazard. This is a primitive look. And I'll finish that up and I'll be right back. Here I've got the stitching done around the cross. And I'm just loving how this is turning out. Don't mind the stain. That's where the Mod, I laid the cloth into the Mod Podge when I was doing the lid. So that's what that is. But that's fine because we're going to cover all this in coffee stain anyway. And at the bottom, it's going to be a loose running stitch as well as the top. And we're going to do those first. And you're just going to go from the bottom, come in here. And very loose. Like this. And the bottom is done. We're just going to leave that hang for now. Take another long strand for the top. And go along the top. Come in from the bottom. And cut that off and leave a tail. Put your gloves back on because we're about to get messy again. We're going to take our stained Mod Podge and just go all over the jar, right up into that lid. Because I want to keep the lid clean, because remember I said I'm going to use this, make them functional. So we're just going to load this up. And wherever you're going to have your front, you can go ahead and place as such. And then flip it over and continue loading up with the Mod Podge. And you want a lot, even cover that bottom. Pull your strings out. You want to be able to hold on to those. Bring these together. And we'll do the top first. Grab each end of the string, if you can. It's kind of messy. All right, that looks pretty tight. I'm going to leave it like that, and then I'll come back and tie that. I think I'll take off my gloves, and then we want to pull the bottom tight. like this. And we don't want to lose what's at the top here. So just make it where you want it. Okay, I'll go ahead and tie that. Okay. Cut off your strings. Start patting it. Make sure it's where you want it. And if it's crinkly in some spots, that's perfectly fine. All right, we're going to tie this just like that on the bottom. You may need to bring it back up depending on where you want it. Make sure we can get that lid on there. This could have been a little higher, but that's fine. All right, make sure we have this in a knot. I got some strings going on here, which is fine. And you can guess what's coming next. We're going to slather some more of our stained Mod Podge on there. And we get to have fun again. Get in all the grooves. And you want to tighten this down. Get everything just like that. I did not sew up this seam, but you can if you want. Just get in all the nooks and crannies. This is what we have so far. Here's the bottom scrunched up. It will sit nicely when placed on a shelf. And the bottom or the top is also scrunched up and I can still get the lid on. I do have to let this dry before we go on to embellishing it, and we're going to add some more coffee stains and some more paints. Really grunge this out. When this dries, I'll be back to do that. I let our jars dry overnight, and here's what we have so far. I love how this is turning out. And here's the bottom of this one. And here's a different jar. It's the medium sized. And here's the bottom of that one. And then here is our small one. Here's the lids. And this is what it'll look like when it's on the top. So it's totally functional. But the lids are pretty well grunged. Not too worried about those. Here's this one. But our jars need a little more grunging, I think. And then on the back of each one, I did make some fabric swatches. I stamped Be Still and Know, Psalm 46:10. There's a layer of cheesecloth, some coffee stained batting, and I just stamped on the muslin. And my idea is to put that on the back, and I will attach that with some Mod Podge. And I've just got some matte Mod Podge here, and I'll go ahead and attach those. And these are pretty dry. What I want to do first, I have a combination of things here. I have some Waverly matte black paint. I have our aspartam, and this is a really dark brown. And then I have the burnt umber, which I use a lot in my primitives. And I have a tad bit of the burnt orange, and I just put it in a little tray. And what I want to do first, and we are ready to grunge. I'm going to take the aspartam first and just dab it off onto here, onto your paper towel. And I'm just going to go around the edge. And then we're just going to start grunging this up. And if you think you have too much, it's okay. We're grunging it up, right? And I do this around all the cloth labels. And then I'm going to do it around the edge. And you're not really going to see a whole lot at the edge at the top because remember we have the lid. All right, there's that. And then around here, around this label, really grunge it in there. Kind of like that. So I do the label. We're going to do around the bottom. And then on to the next one. Then what we're going to do is fill in. We don't want it to look streaky, huh? I kind of got a little crazy there, but we'll just fill that in. And then what we're going to do is we'll come in with the burnt umber, like in the centers, and then a little bit of black. This one is really grunged. I went to town. But the most important thing is to have fun with it. Make it your own. Be creative. The next step is we're going to add a little bit of the burnt umber in between, like I said. And again, there's no rhyme or reason to this. Just haphazardly, kind of pounce in between. And then just a tad of the orange. We have to be careful with that. We don't want much of that at all. Very lightly. Just a little of the burnt orange. There we go. So we've got our burnt umber and our orange on that one. Go back to burnt umber. And make sure you wipe it back. And if you got some orange on there, it's okay. Grab some more burnt umber. Dab it on there. And I made a mess here, so I want to kind of blend that in with the burnt umber. See, no worries. Everything is fixable. Okay, and I grabbed a little bit of orange. There's that one. And then our large one. Some more burnt umber. And because this is a larger jar, you might want to go on the tops as well. But just do you. Grab a little bit of orange on there. Just a tad. Any white spots you missed. Kind of in the top here, because this was a larger jar. I think I'll be doing a few more of these. I'm going to do some different designs in here. How about you? Do you think you'll make some? A little bit too much orange there. Get that off there. Yeah, it'll be fine. I'll come back with some more brown or burnt umber. And then on the bottom here, I see some orange that didn't get blended in, but I think that's good. That's really grungy. And then just take a peek at your lids and see if you want to do anything with those. I think I'm going to add a tad bit of orange, just a little bit. And then I'll go back with the burnt umber. If you want to go down the sides. And these lids are really stiff, so I am very pleased with that. I'm going in with the asphaltum paint on here. And there's a tint of orange in there. And this one, yep, there's a light spot there, so some asphaltum on here just to darken that up. Come in with some burnt umber. Just a tad bit of orange. I have some on my paper towel. Dab that in. Maybe around the sides. And back to asphaltum. Okay, I think our painting is done. And the last step, if you wanted to, would be to add some sprinkles. We'll see how this looks. I'm not sure if I need it, but we will see. It smells good anyway, so that might be reason enough to go ahead and try it. Okay. So let's see. Oh yeah. Gotta have that. Totally prim. I know it's hard to see on here, but gotta do it. And we'll go ahead and get that lid done. Hopefully you can see that. This one is done. I love it. Totally prim. All right, let's try this one. And you know, like I said, you can do different shapes here. Just the possibilities are endless. Definitely have to try. And my sprinkle is cloves, cinnamon, pumpkin spice, and I'm sure there's some other stuff in there. This one is not going so much, but I still think it needs it. My husband says he can always tell when I've been working in here because he can smell the cinnamon. There's that one, and there's that lid. Let me get cleaned up and I'll show you how we style these. Well, here they are. I think they are just perfect. And I am just putting them in my little tray here. And here's the top. The large one is here. There we go. And then the backs. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you were inspired. Get those jars out, or take anything for that matter and grunge it up. You can make it look primitive, and it'll be perfect for your primitive decor. Thanks so much for watching, and until the next video, God bless. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that notification bell so that you never miss a video. And if you're returning, thank you so much. And if you have found value in this video, please like and comment.